Hello, and welcome to the Critical Path Institute podcast. Our goal for this podcast is to connect the dots among our core competencies in regulatory science, biomarkers, data management and standards, clinical outcome assessments, and modeling and analytics, and how we accelerate drug development. CPATH created this podcast for researchers, clinicians, and industry and regulatory professionals with the hope that these conversations and the resources we share will advance your efforts and partnerships to improve global health.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the CPATH podcast, where we connect the dots between clinical medicines, science, drug development, and global impact. Today we have a very special guest with us, Cécile Ollivier. She leads our regulatory science core competency, but she also manages our office in Europe. Cecile, welcome.
Thank you, Klaus. Very pleased to be here today and looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent. So, Cecile, you lead two very important aspects of the CPATH operation, but the two are very much connected strategically. Diseases, as we have discussed before, don't recognize borders, and they don't care about language barriers, and drug development is a truly global effort. So can you comment on the strategic importance of our global presence and our global impact through the vantage point of the core competency you lead in regulatory science and our presence in Europe?
Yes. Indeed, regulatory science is a core competency of CPATH and the drive and the glue to advance global strategies in order to meet the expectations of different regulatory agencies in different regions. And therefore, in order to achieve that, it was also important to have a European presence in order to truly be integrated as part of the European ecosystem, understand the regional need of the European ecosystem in terms of regulatory science, which might be different than the one in other regions. And having a European presence allow us to better understand key stakeholders in Europe, work with them very closely, addressing the needs at regional level, whilst facilitating global alignment through CPATH with the connection we have in other regions. And this is really key to truly operate at global level, to understand the regional needs, address the regional needs, and facilitate the global alignments on the CPATH global platform that we have.
Yeah, excellent, Cecile. So you mentioned a couple of things that I'd like to explore further. So number one, the global nature of our impact and the role that regulatory science plays. There are some preconceptions that some members of our audience may have regarding the quote-unquote different mindset between an agency like FDA and an agency like EMA. But when it comes to the core science and the clinical aspects of the impact of novel methodologies to advance drug development, we have seen alignment more than differences, but it's also important to put that into context as to the regional jurisdictions that each agency has. And so can you help us dive deeper into that notion of the alignment that we see when it comes to the actual science, but then how to contextualize that to the different jurisdictions?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why it's important to have a regional presence in order to progress towards global alignment. As you mentioned, the two big agencies in Europe and in the US, the EMA and the FDA, are not often too far away. However, for these agencies to align, there is a lot of layers, as you mentioned, an onion to be peeled on both regions. And each of these layers, if being done in ways that might trigger questions or concern or uncertainties for various reasons, might come in the middle of this global alignment. So that's why it's absolutely key to operate at regional level, understanding the ecosystem, the culture, the political landscape, the sensitivities, in order to truly address the needs at regional level. And then from there, it's easier to facilitate the global alignments, because when you understand when the uncertainties will come from at the different layers, you can facilitate having conversation at the right time to address the right uncertainties with these various these two agencies, and therefore align them in a stepwise fashion, rather than if you start with one region, go to another, and then you can end up playing ping pong, if I can say, with the two regions, and you address questions in one region that will trigger a new response in the second region. Whilst if you truly have a global strategy upfront early on, you will truly facilitate in a stepwise fashion to have the conversation in one region, informing also the uncertainties in the other region, and together build a robust global strategy. The impact also of having this type of global strategy is absolutely key in the work that CPAS is doing, because when you have EMA and FDA aligned, it truly benefits all regions worldwide. And that's also something we are aiming at facilitating at CPAS.
Great. That's really helpful, Cecile, because in the work that we do, and certainly in the core competency that regulatory science represents for us, all the solutions that we are known for, that we have developed, that we are developing, and that we will develop, are always intended to be presented for formal review at FDA and EMA. And one of the core common denominators of those solutions is something called the context of use statement. And so, can you comment on how at the true core, there's not really that much of a difference in the core intention of the phraseology of a context of use statement for a given tool, even if we then need to add layers, as you said, the onion, to meet the requirements of each jurisdictions, but that the underlying science remains at the core essentially the same, and it depends on the setup that each agency has. Can you comment on how we've evolved that knowledge and that added value to the collaborations that we run?
Yes, absolutely. And maybe I can start by mentioning key international guidelines such as ICH guidelines, which are more and more technical in terms of innovative methods and data, and where all regions are aligned with some of these guidelines. We have the ICH extrapolation guideline, the ICH M15 for modeling, now the ICH E6 that has been revised. And through these guidelines, which are general methodological principles and expectations at global level, from there, we can cascade down to the next level of technical aspects, which are to be reflected in the development of a context of use, and maintaining this global alignment, understanding what are the needs and agreement at global level, and again, where the uncertainties might come, going down to the next level of technical aspects for new tools or a new method, and from there start to work on this global strategy we were discussing in order to facilitate the alignment. We have to acknowledge that ICH is International Conference of Harmonization, it is not always possible to have fully harmonized development when you leverage this guideline down to either a product level or a context of use. However, understanding again the needs at regional level might allow you to have a context of use that is facilitating global compatibility, meaning you will address the need of the two regions and have a tool that can be developed at a global level.
Yeah, and thank you, Cecile, because that really outlines very clearly why having a global presence is key to our impact. But let's now talk about how our regulatory colleagues from both FDA and EMA are always part of the process of us building the tools and solutions that can accelerate drug development across multiple areas. Because it's not just about them being and functioning as reviewers of science, but them acting as stewards of public health, and how that stewardship gains value by being part of the entire process of building the tools. And so, can you comment on the opportunity to have that level of scientific and clinical alignment at the collaboration level that then can be contextualized depending on how the different jurisdictions operate according to the regional legal context? Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yes, that's a great question, Klaus. And I think that in Europe and in the US, the regulators act as regulators, reviewer, but also as enablers for innovation. And CPAS is working on the enabler role space with regulatory agencies. And this role is also in order to respect rules around conflict of interest, disconnected from the roles of reviewers of the agencies. And when we work with them with the enabler hat, we really have an opportunity to design tools that are going to be able to answer key research of questions from them as a reviewer. What are their needs? What are the challenges they see? And how can we have some of these challenges addressed in a consistent and harmonized ways across development if our tools are being used in phase 3 trials or in the design of these phase 3 trials. And it's important to initiate this discussion with the end in mind, knowing that when these tools are being submitted for qualification, that's not when the work is starting. That should be the validation of all the work that has been done from the design and the conception of the tool, the context of use that has been defined for the tools, the data generated, and the uncertainties to be addressed in the review of specific products later on, and therefore help the reviewers to have reliable methods that can be part of product development.
Yeah, great, Cecile. Now let's dive deeper into a couple of things that you mentioned. The notion of the pathways that exist both at FDA and EMA for the review and the potential endorsement of the drug development tools that our collaborations at CPAS develop. Some have the same name. There's a qualification mechanism at FDA. There's the qualification of novel methodologies and drug development mechanism at EMA. But then FDA has several others, and there's the notion of a letter of support on both sides. But the important thing is not to get hung up on the synonyms or the names of the pathways, but more on the actual route to enable exactly what you mentioned, have the regulators be part of the journey and have the regulatory review be the culmination of the work. And so can you also provide the audience with some additional perspective on how the different pathways exist for a reason, but that the most important thing is understanding strategically which pathway to follow depending on the context of the solution and the clinical impact that we can have?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Klaus. And probably you know better than me the different FDA pathways that are there. But I think for the two regions, what we know from the experience we have at CPAS is that there isn't a one size fits all. And the problem is that many of the projects are being designed with the one size fits all qualification procedure on both sides of the ocean. Whilst actually, if you truly understand the different regulatory pathways, the different need of the two agencies, you can truly craft a regulatory strategy in order to have the right pathway for the right impact of the tool you are looking at. There is also a problem that I see in the design of some of the regulatory strategies is that the context of use that are being designed again with the one size fits all context of use, disregarding the different type of level of impact that this context of use can be, starting from a context of use that may be not as broad or as impactful as you would want from the beginning. So for example, if you take a model, if you aim at having a model that is going to lead to the endorsement of a model that can generate external control arm, this context of use is very high in terms of impact in regulatory decision making, and therefore require to have very robust packages in terms of data and validation that needs to be submitted to regulatory authorities. It will take time, and maybe it's worth having maybe a model that is submitted at the regulatory agencies with a lower impact in order, maybe this model might generate some data to complement some clinical data or inform the design of a clinical trial at first, and then over time and as evidence is being generated, you might have a different type or roadmap of context of use that can be crafted and designed with the right regulatory strategies and with the right regulatory pathways that allow to have more timely feedback from regulatory authorities as you build up your tool towards something that is, as discussed, like for example, an external control arm. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, this is really relevant, Cecile, because you're talking about models as in quantitative models of disease progression and clinical trial simulation tools and external controls generators. Those are a very important type of drug development tool, but they have to by design include things like endpoints and biomarkers and other sources of variability. So what you illustrated about making sure that we get to the so what. It's not about the development of a tool, a biomarker, an outcome measure, or a comprehensive disease progression model. It's about what it can actually do to move the needle in drug development and what is the most strategic way to present the same science, the same underlying concepts to different regions depending on their context, when we know for a fact that when we talk to regulators about the science and the clinical relevance and the stuff that really matters, we see more alignment than differences. So that's a very important point that you raised. But let me dig deeper into another angle of something that you mentioned. It's also about the different regional needs when it comes to drug development, because as we discussed in the beginning, diseases don't care about borders. They don't care about what language you or me or anybody else speaks. The diseases affect human beings, but it's important to use the context of the world that we live in so that we can actually move the needle. So can you comment on what we've been doing in global health areas like pediatrics or tuberculosis, specifically in the European context, but how that also has an impact globally?
Yes, so definitely the fact that we have a European presence allow you to connect with other global key players, such as the World Health Organization, or organization, not-for-profit organization based in Switzerland, and that plays a big part in the global health landscape. So CPAS is very well known for work it has conducted since its inception in tuberculosis, working with key stakeholders in the tuberculosis space, and have now been allocated important task as part of European funded projects in IHI for tuberculosis, and gathering data and developing a unique database worldwide for tuberculosis. On one hand, and this is really a work that is only possible because of the model of sustainability that CPAS has as well, in order to allow for the work to continue when the project doesn't end. We can pick it up and have various projects that are being synergized under a therapeutic area, and therefore allow for knowledge sharing, dissemination, data collaboration in a space that evolves as the space is evolving without the need to restart from scratch. This is what we successfully managed to do in the tuberculosis space, and that is really important because for key therapeutic areas, you will see that there are waves of interest with pipelines of drugs. And tuberculosis was very busy maybe 15, 20 years ago. Then it went more quiet, and now it reactivates. And with all the data, the work, and the knowledge that we have gathered at CPAS, that allow us to give access to all of this in a very timely manner to communities as the business pipeline, the pipeline of medicines is becoming more active, or there is interest from government in investing in areas with high unmet needs, such as tuberculosis. In the context of pediatrics, it's really very important agenda on CPAS, a population that is addressed across many of our therapeutic areas, and where we are now going one step further, where we are truly looking at commonalities of needs for pediatric population in from a methodological perspective, in terms of regulatory science learning, data collaboration learnings, and quantitative medicine learnings, where we are developing a global platform that will allow us for each communities in the pediatric space that have needs that are similar across therapeutic area, have them addressed in a timely manner without, again, the need for start from scratch for each disease and each therapeutic area. The understanding of how to integrate innovative methods, how to build a robust database of high quality, how to navigate the global landscape, particularly in pediatrics, between Europe, US, but also having learnings that can benefit and products that can be accessed in LMIC's regions. So that's really when you have, again, like a presence in multiple regions, foot on the ground, understanding the ecosystem that allows you to truly then integrate the next level of global collaboration that is beyond Europe and US and can benefit all the other regions.
Excellent, Cecile. For the benefit of the audience, you mentioned a couple of abbreviations. IHI is the Innovative Health Initiative, and LMICs are low and medium income countries.
Yes, sorry.
No, that's okay. Just for the benefit of everyone. But now let's talk about the future. Where do you see our global presence going? And you might want to mention some of the initiatives that we're launching. But strategically speaking, where do you see the global strategy for CPATH going as we move into what we would like to see, a truly modernized evidence generation enterprise to better assess the efficacy and safety of novel medical products?
Well, I believe that when you have a good understanding and presence in Europe and US, then you can truly engage with other regions, all the regions. There is a lot of activities in terms of innovation in Asia with China. Japan is also looking at having innovation, integrating some of their needs upfront as well, in order not to delay access to medicines and to have drugs that are of appropriate dosage to the Japanese population. There is also a lot of activities ongoing in Africa with the African Medicine Agency as well, that is developing in a very nice way, and they are truly partnering with the European Medicine Agency in order to have a similar model, because Europe relies on different countries, and then they have a common agency, which is the same model for Africa. And we also have the MHRA in the UK, who is also truly pushing the agenda towards innovation and joining a lot and leading a lot of key global activities. So I believe that we are in a position to operate with all the different regions. When you have truly this European and US presence, where we might need to differentiate how do we operate in the different region, might be by the size of the agencies you will find. For example, the European Medicine Agency and the Food and Drug Administration in the US are big agencies, but there are also medium-sized agencies that play key roles in shaping the global landscape, with whom we can work more closely, such as the MHRA, but also you have Canada next to the US that also are having an active presence in a lot of global initiatives. And therefore, we are looking at shaping our operation not only to address the needs of big agencies, but also medium-sized agencies who also have key roles to play, such as Australia, Singapore, as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Cecile. Now, let's connect the dots across pediatrics, model-informed drug development, global impact. There's a new initiative that you're about to launch, and can you comment on the Disease Modeling Coalition?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Klaus. So I also referred to two important ICH guidelines earlier from the International Conference of Harmonization, the Pediatric Extrapolation Guideline and the Modeling Guideline, which are going to have a key impact on optimizing the development of medicines for children and integrating innovative methods, and particularly quantitative medicines tools, such as the modeling that CPATH has developed for the past 20 years. When we started to look at how can we have a disease agnostic initiative that allow us to address the need in a timely manner across therapeutic areas, a lot of pediatric communities engage with CPATH and address the need to have extrapolation challenges to be addressed, and how could we implement the guideline. So as CPAS is not in a position to contribute to the implementation of guideline at product level, like we are, we have developed over the past 18 months this disease modeling coalition platform that allow us to advance the knowledge and understanding for better disease characterization in children, that will therefore, when we have this model, allow us to have better endpoints, better design, and overcome some of the key challenges that are well known in pediatric development, around scattered resources, heterogeneous population, lengthy trial, difficulties in recruitment. The disease modeling coalition is going to work around these 4 pillars at technical and operational level, and also facilitating, leveraging these ICH guidelines, as discussed, global alignments in order to truly have pediatric development that is timely and allow to have medicines for children that are approved earlier than the current 8 years gap we see between adult licensing and pediatric licensing. To date, we have 3 pilots that are quite advanced, one in pediatric inflammatory bowel disease, one in chronic kidney disease, and one in rare epilepsies. And again, here the sustainability is going to be key, and we have really integrated this as part of the design of the platform. And we are really excited to launch this project in Paris in July, and have truly a global impact with collaboration from as many agencies as possible behind pediatric development.
Excellent, Cecile. That very exciting, and we look forward to the impact of that new initiative. This has been an excellent conversation. You helped us connect a lot of dots globally. For our audience, you might want to just revisit the episodes that we did with Colin Hovinge, our lead for rare and orphan diseases, and with Kanwajit Singh, our lead for neonatology and pediatrics, because what Cecile discussed touches on those conversations that we had with them. And so thank you, Cecile. This was a fantastic overview of our global presence. I'm excited about the future. I can sense your energy as well, and we look forward to everyone joining us in the journey as we continue to accelerate drug development for those in need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Klaus. Thank you, everyone.
Did you enjoy this episode? Share it with a friend or colleague, or leave a review on iTunes, and help others discover and support our mission. We are welcoming guests with a range of experiences and viewpoints. The views expressed belong to the guests themselves. Learn more about Critical Path Institute at cpath.org.
That's c-path.org.
Stay tuned for our next episode coming soon, and thanks for listening.